It's a new show with a new guest, but every show I do with thought. And so, just like a TV show review or a movie review, even a reimagining, I put thought into the things that I release here on the channel. And so, new show, new guest, but same old quality when it comes to forethought, in-depth analysis. And so after the open rolls, Vincent will be here, and he and I, along with Mrs. Super Oz, will talk about a book that was gotten where it breaks down the Bible into 52 weeks. That way that after 1 year you will have consumed it all, and hopefully this video on the channel will help not just us, but all viewers to have a greater understanding when it's all completed. Vincent, thank you so much for making this first time video, well, and guest appearance if you will, because to me you are a major part of both mine and Mrs. Super Oz's advancements when it comes to, knowledge in general, biblical path, all whatever phraseology you want to use. So I appreciate you lending your heart and mind to the cause.
Sure.
I'll say this, it was, I'm going to say probably 18 years since I've been in Genesis. I know that sounds terrible to say, but it had been so long for me since I had been in Genesis that I actually mixed up parts of Noah and Lot's story post getting drunk.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it's interesting to me how the mind can play tricks on you.
Yep.
And the realization of the mix-up actually helped me understand definitely having that kind of gap is not beneficial, because the ability to mix things up or forget. So I'm glad that we decided to take this trip. In the back of the book that we're using as a guide to figure out what to read each week, not in the back, but in the back of each section of that said book, it has prompts. And so those things to ponder will be what Mrs. Super Oz will bring up, and we will then talk about in regard to the reading of the week. Cool?
Sounds good to me.
All right. You want to start with
Sure.
Point one?
Let's see. Number one. When you were faced with an impossibility, how did you handle it? After this lesson, how will you handle those impossibilities going forward?
Wow, that feels so non-specific to the reading, which I guess in some ways is fine, but also quite surprising, because I expected to be more specific to what it had wanted us to read. But I'll say this, generally speaking, in my opinion at least, that the more I'm with believers, the more that it helps me have the right mindset. While that doesn't answer what I did before or what I'll do after, it's a grounding for having the right heart to any challenge. So, yeah, whether it be, a small group of 3 or, larger groups of people getting together, I think it always helps to guide into the right decision making.
Yeah, I think the idea of impossible is human. Right? We have a view of the impossible because things oftentimes feel hopeless, and things feel out of touch, and things feel just hard to see the outcome. But I think God has God has the vision of possible.
Absolutely.
He's in control over all things, and has the ability to solve and resolve.
Oh
all
my
things,
goodness.
and
I'm sorry to interrupt you,
That's
but you saying God has the ability to do all things brings me back to the reading.
Yep.
Because, so in my notes, I was so passive about the origins because it's so ingrained, right? God did and it was good. I literally just bypassed basically everything because it's so known, right? But when you look at it in a deeper way, when it's like any problem we have that we can't figure out, it's like, oh, God's got this.
Mhm.
And it's so clearly and easily illustrated from the start. It's like, I don't know, it's just a great way to tie it together.
Yeah, I think oftentimes, like if you read the book of Genesis, because there's a lot of familiar passages, stories, there's a lot of familiar just context. I think sometimes we have the possibility to kind of breeze through things, where we're talking about, like in chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, we're talking about there was nothing and darkness and chaos, and all of a sudden things were formed, things were good, there was light. So there was what seemed impossible, right? What seemed like nothing could come from anything. The creator of the universe, who is over all and through all and in all, forms all this stuff out of nothing. So if we're gonna believe that, like, Genesis 1:1 and Genesis 1:2 happened, then anything is
absolutely
possible.
And that's what I love about your addition to this journey, because when I first read the question, I was like, oh man, this is irrelevant, and then your simple statement brings it all back together. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that's a hard thing to always realize, because there have been times in my life and other people's lives that you kind of watch and you're just like, man, how is this going to end?
Yeah.
How is this going to be resolved? Where's the out on this? Like, someone's been struggling with something for so long. Someone has been just sitting with a problem for so long. None of the things that we're doing are working. And I find myself a lot of times in prayer, especially if I'm praying for other people, like about their situations.
Of course.
I'm just like, this solution is only coming from God. No, like everything else that humans have tried have been we've fallen short, or at least the solution hasn't been total.
Well, and the thing is, like, we just don't have that proper perspective for the big things. I mean, probably not even for the small things, to be honest, but at least when it's a small thing, you know, we can have the misconception that we got this one.
Right. And you know, some of the people that were talked about in this first bunch of reading, I mean, they were in impossible situations. I mean, you had Noah and his family on a boat for over a year, raining, stuck, not being able to do anything, but were faithful enough just to do it.
Oh my goodness! So there was a big
outcome.
There was a big takeaway I had from that reading. Because like I try my best to not brush it off, like I did with the opening,
Right.
because again, it's so familiar culturally, if nothing else, that. So I tried my best not to do that again, and so two of my biggest takeaways when it came to the Noah story, and all of Genesis, realistically, age was a big thing that it hit me hard. I was like, was it due to the closeness to what should have been eternal? ? Or is there some other reasoning that I don't quite get yet? I don't know, but it blew me away. The high number of years that, and maybe it came down to necessity too, for the being fruitful and multiplying portion of this. I don't know the answer, to be honest, but it was definitely something that it's quite jarring to read, 500, 600, 900, this type of stuff.
I've had that question before too, and I've kind of researched it, over the years, and biblically, I don't there's nothing that answers it biblically.
Sure.
A lot of this is just kind of speculation based off of culture at the time, other things that are biblical. So it was relatively close to when things were perfect, right? Adam and Eve were still, prior to sin, they were still in this perfect communion with God. So death actually hadn't entered their life yet. So the further you get from that moment, the less years that people live, because our because the world is more corrupt each and every generation, right? Like we're more sinful.
I mean, my
more-
goodness, that really became clear when you get to Sodom and Gomorrah, and then also Lamech.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
when those were entered in, but that's off topic from what I was going to say about Noah's Ark, and I wanted to get this in before I forget. I really, and maybe I'm reaching here, but whatever. It was the thought that crossed my mind when God came to Noah with the plan for the ark. It just felt like a foreshadowing / demonstration of God's plan to save humanity through Christ. You know, down, spoiler for what's to come, obviously. And while maybe not a perfect analogy, it definitely seemed like echoes of what is to come.
For sure. I mean, I think there's tons of people biblically that foreshadow or show some sort of similarity with who Christ is. Noah's definitely one of them. I mean, he was chosen,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
The rest of the world was just living wildly and sinfully, and
Yes.
you know, instead of wiping out everyone, there is a small restart that happens. And I think the promise of safety and security, and the promise of kind of rebuilding everything through Noah, it's definitely symbolic of what Jesus was. It points to that. It foreshadows.
Let me ask you your perspective on something similar in that I notated that, you know, we read that Enoch felt like it said Enoch was so good that he was
Taken.
taken.
He didn't actually die.
Yeah.
He was just ascended into heaven.
When I was going to say that once again, or additionally, felt like a signpost for what is to come.
Yeah, there's another prophet later on in the Old Testament. I think it's Elijah or Elisha. I always forget.
Sure.
But
Very similar.
only the three.
Yes.
There's only three that ascended without.
Well, and look at that, the beautiful symbology
Right.
of three and Trinity.
Yep.
Because I notated so early on, and I don't mean to keep bringing this up, but the idea that us and our image were brought up during the formation of man.
Yeah.
And I just was like, for people who struggle with that concept, I was like, man, it's so early that
Yep.
it surprises me that it seems challenging. Like, I can remember a time when I was, I don't know, 16 or 17, and I wasn't exactly church shopping per se, but, you know, I went to a cousin's church, and nobody else in youth group can answer the question of who's in the Trinity or what, you know, and I was like, how am I the smart one in the room? So it was foreign to me.
Yeah.
Because up until that point, I felt like I was nothing but questions at like my home church, and then I go to somebody else, I'm like, oh, I have answers, but it feels weird that I do.
Yeah, I mean, the concept of the Trinity is, I mean, admittedly kind of hard, just because they're same God, different roles, but not like a created being from another created being. So the verse of where it says, make man in our image and let us, that speaks to the community of the Trinity existing before the existence of all things, outside of time, for eternity, or, you know, eternity back then and eternity forever.
Right. Well, that's the beauty of eternity. It works both ways.
Right. Yeah, no beginning, no end. Which, you know, when we hear like parts of the Trinity being created or lesser than or submissive to, and in terms of like not as powerful, right? That's just wrong.
Of course.
Right? Like, and this.
Well, I know that what I'm about to say is not perfectly analogous, right? But the way I have always felt best to understand it, and again, this is a selfish way of saying it, but like, if my brain's not working, but my body is alive, well, that's not the same, right? If my body's not working and my brain's good, but my body's no good, it's like, well, of course I'm missing a 1/3 of this equation, but my point is, it takes, you know, the community, the whole connection for it all makes sense, and so I don't know. I can come to grips with there being multiple pieces to be one, if you will.
Yeah, but it's not a third, right? I
Oh,
think, I think
exactly.
that's the difference.
Of
right?
course.
Yeah.
Like I said, I knew that my analogy was going to miss the mark, but it's just a way that I can easily understand.
Yeah, there's other similar analogies like an apple, where like
Oh yeah,
the skin, the core, and the flesh of the apple,
yeah,
whatever. It's still the apple. but
correct.
That falls a little short because like the skin of the apple is not the core of the apple. It's not the flesh.
Exactly.
But, like, Jesus is God. God creator. Yahweh is God. Spirit is God. Right?
Absolutely.
So like all three are God, yet different roles, and are meant for different purposes. Yet do not reduce their abilities or sovereignty or power or anything else.
Right. Again, I think this all comes back down to our smallness.
Yeah.
Why that it's both challenging and oversimplification when we try to make comparisons.
Yeah, I don't think we're meant to fully understand the Trinity. I think because we're not God, right?
Of course.
We can't fully comprehend all of that in our human brains.
For sure.
But I think it's a foundational point of the Christian faith is that Jesus Christ, God,
Yes.
came, lived as human, lived as fully divine and fully human, died and was risen again by that same power that makes him God, and the same power that lives in us, and the same power that created the world. Like it's a hard concept, I think intentionally,
But it's also
it's
a
crux of
beautiful
it.
connection.
Yeah.
So,
It-
regardless of the challenge, it's still super.
It shows
Awesome.
It shows so many like important topics of like community, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the creator of the universe,
Lives in community.
right, then
That's always what has bothered me about people generically. That I mean, I could be specific, but I'm not gonna. People
That's a good idea.
generally who are like, oh, I don't need
Yeah.
the connection. I got this all on my own. I'm like,
Yeah.
I mean,
a lot of hubris.
well, ain't that the truth? Yeah, I wasn't gonna go that spot, but that's true. Topic 2.
Number
Or
2.
question 2, I guess.
What has this lesson taught you about your faith?
I have been far too dismissive, and I know again it's not a pleasant thing to say or acknowledge, but I have often put stock in my memory
Right.
that clearly I shouldn't have because of the ease at which I have gotten things jumbled.
Yeah.
And I think that's legitimately one of the reason I'm glad you picked up this book is because it opens my eyes to basically my own ego that while I do have the capacity to remember an innumerable number of things, I also have now realized how many things I've messed up and mixed up.
Yeah.
Well, here's the other crazy thing. Like, 5 years ago me, 10 years ago me, 18 years ago me, whatever, that version of me's capacity to understand, while not nothing, is not the same as today and tomorrow. It just helped me to understand the importance of continuing to explore / understand.
Yeah, I think that's well said. It's for sure a process,
Mm.
right? Like, I'm never going to be an expert. You're never going to be an expert. I'm never going to be perfect until I go to heaven, right? But do I look different than I do 5 years ago, 10 years ago? You have to look different. Like, almost to the point where you're surprised, like, I thought like that, I acted like that,
Right?
But in a good way, right? Like, because
Absolutely.
you're progressing
Yes.
in faith, and yeah, that's well said. I think that's an important reminder, is that not everything happens when we want it to happen, not everything looks the way we thought it would look, but are we moving in the right direction? Are we moving closer, deepening our relationship with Jesus? Are we understanding the word more? Are we praying more? Are we serving more? Like, all these things, like, they're just steps in the right direction.
Yes.
And if it takes going back and saying, oh yeah, the men mentioned in Genesis are different because I haven't read them.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
That's perfect. That's good. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So what's What's question 3?
Wait, sorry. Can I just chime in real quick?
Absolutely,
about- I think there's every time, especially when I read Genesis, or at least some of the Old Testament, the names are hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's confusing sometimes, the lineage and who's connected to who and how things happen, and because it's not every single detail, right? Like it's written.
I
as
notated at one point. I was
a-
like, so some lineage gets named, and
Yeah.
some are just, and they had sons and daughters. I'm like,
Yep.
I guess these folks don't matter.
Yeah, like who other than the names, the named people matter for some purpose,
Mhm.
and the unnamed people don't. But I think it's important. It's always a good reminder that these are real people.
Yes.
These are real events. This is not just some fantasy story written by like illiterate desert peasants, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are. This is a historical record
Right.
of the history of humanity, which in turn means the history of us,
Yes.
right? Like as 21st century people, we have a connection to someone who lived thousands and thousands of years ago because we have history.
Mm-hmm.
So part of reading the Bible is like these actually happened. These events took place. These people lived. Now some things are allegory and some things are they like parables are not real events, but
Okay, let me ask you a
like
question. then,
these are
since
real
we're-
people.
Since we're talking about the fact and the embellishment, so I'm sorry.
It's a good word.
I have to ask because I asked in the notes. I was like, so was the serpent manifesting, or because there's no other documented to my knowledge. Well, I guess there is one later on, but regardless, I'll get there momentarily. But my point is, it's not often you hear a snake speak, right? Thank you for being here at Mr. Super Oz. This video is going out, and this channel only exists because I, Oz, founded Gamble Comics, which first release was Everlasting Survivors, a 68-page graphic novel called All Day Long. Available now. Follow the link in the description that will take you to gamblecomics.com. While there, you can get hats, shirts, posters, much, much more. But most importantly, the story itself. I can't recall one time. Right. And so then it begs the question, is it a real serpent? Or is serpent a description of not the serpent? Or is the serpent inhabited by something that can speak?
Yeah.
And if that's the case, okay, that makes sense to some degree as well. But then, I guess that's my big... I don't really have an answer. It was just nothing but questions when it came to... Literally, I was like, the idea of the King of Lies using a non-speaking creature to talk to humans talk humans into being disobedient seems on brand, but it's not exactly what I would call crystal clear.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear enough that you get this leads to that, right? Big consequences. And I even say at one point, I'm like, I hate to acknowledge the idea that this is so relatable. The idea that Adam hiding from God. I was like, man, that's uncomfortably relatable.
Right.
And so then with the thing that is so acknowledgeable, again, it almost makes the part that's challenging less important.
Yeah. So Genesis 3, right? The fall of man is where you're referencing.
Correct, yeah.
Created being, for sure. Serpent, snake, dragon could be kind of, from what I've researched in the past, like could be any one of those three animals. I think like visually now and like culturally we just assume snake because serpent means snake, but later on in the Bible Satan is referred to as dragon. So could it be something that looks more like how we would think a dragon looks like? Maybe. But Genesis 3 says, now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. So created being.
Okay.
Satan, as a enemy of God, at one point was an angel who was cast out in heaven. Now that's later on in the scriptures and way too deep theology.
Of course. Well, but that's why I proposed the question. Like, it didn't seem logical or clearly understandable to be just garden snake. You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Right. It's,
Which is ironically / irritatingly the way it's drawn sometimes.
right.
And so I say irritating because it's
Well,
one of those things where it's like, well, if it's just a regular garden snake, it's like I'm disconnected from
Right.
it.
Simple.
It almost makes it like a cartoonish.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So like
Cute.
we think of Satan as the snake from the Jungle Book or some other cartoon
right.
that we
Absolutely.
just see kind of operating. I think part of the deception is that maybe the serpent didn't look so terrifying.
That's
Right?
Yeah.
Where like if it was a dragon 40 feet long, tail, fire, whatever,
Yeah.
who knows, that
I
maybe
definitely
the
won't be having a
interaction-
conversation. That's for sure.
Right. So part of the deception is the maybe the reduced version of it,
Yeah. I see your point there.
but a
It's more approachable.
created being who was in communication verbally,
Mhm.
right? So not a thought of Adam and Eve that the snake was talking to them, because Satan was at one point an angel in heaven, cast out of heaven to earth, now inhabits the known world, right? And in the serpent's body is able to communicate to humans. Again, like all of this came from nothing, so everything else is possible. and not saying that
That's a beautiful callback because that's the thread that ties everything together. And when you're able to help with that, it's beneficial. So.
yeah, and I think too the importance of the deceiving appearance, the deceiving word choice, the deceiving offering of what is available, all of that plays into Satan being the ultimate enemy of everything good God makes. Satan tries to corrupt, right? So like all of whether it's one fruit in one tree versus expounded out to everything that gets corrupted nowadays, right? Satan tries to take everything God makes good, makes it bad. So even a created animal, snake, is corrupted into evil. So the enemy's real, and it's as clear as any other conversation that.
Right, and so I'll be honest with you, that's A, helpful, but B, it reminds me of a mutual friend of ours, because there are so few people I speak to that are as willing to bring up the concept that there is a bad force in the world that every time that we speak of struggle, and I'm just gonna say Josh, it's fine. Anytime that we speak of struggle, and he's all like, well, it's not like it's some big surprise that like I don't know. I just and again this is call back to the community concept, because if you're isolated and you I don't even know if forget is the right word, but aren't reminded that there's a force out there that wants you to fail, then you'll not think of it.
Yep. And remember, prior to this, this account, these chapters and verses, Genesis 3, humanity was living in perfect relationship with God.
Mm-hmm.
Satan desires to be better than God, or to have a different a better relationship. He desires to be recognized for his his light and his brightness, but selfishly and narcissistically, not because God does it because he loves us. Satan does it because he hates us,
Right.
and desires what we have with God, right? God created us out of his own image. So in the created order, humanity has more value maybe is the right word, but the angels were not created in God's image.
Mm-hmm.
Humanity was.
Right.
Satan desires what we have, wants to destroy our relationship, wants to destroy our interactions with God and our interactions with other people. So everything he does is deception, right? So he's trying to destroy Adam and Eve with their perfect relationship.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to destroy because he desires that of himself.
Well, and this will be my final point on this subject, but the beauty to me of it is that while yes, it seemed for a moment that was achieved, God is still willing to continually and over be like, all right, and this,
Yep.
all right, and this.
Yep.
And so that in and of itself, the idea that basically God cares enough to not let us keep screwing it up,
Yep.
or let it stay screwed up, I'd say,
Yep.
is wonderful.
Yep.
What's question 3?
Okay, number 3.
Ponderance 3.
There's some good stuff in that last
Oh,
point.
well, that was pretty good.
I was about to come back with something.
What areas have you discovered where you are strong in faith? What areas have you discovered where your faith needs to be strengthened?
Right after the fall of man, right after Genesis 3, right after sin enters the world, God it basically enacts the rescue plan, right? He
Yeah.
prophesizes in a way that, Satan will strike the heel of Eve's offspring, but the offspring will crush his head, right?
Mhm.
So we're getting the rescue plan basically laid out for us. What has struck me too about this account is if the first 2 people messed up so bad,
Mm-hmm.
why didn't he just restart? Right, that thought is just
That's
kind of
that's a yeah.
like why didn't he restart at 2 people versus after an entire civilization was built?
Well, especially given what the kids are
Right.
not both obviously,
Right.
but what Cain's about to
Right.
bring to pass.
Right. You have the first family, and now it is just gone so far off the rails.
Yes.
The answer that I keep coming back to, and this is just this is partially me, but also partially just like hearing a million other people talk about
Sure.
this, is that God loves us so much that He created us,
Mm.
desires a relationship with us, that even though there is all this mess up and all this sin and all these opportunities for a full restart, He's so faithful in who He is, and He knows that that through Jesus He is ultimately glorified.
Yes.
That it actually is better that it did not totally, completely restart. It's better that we keep kind of going down this path because He keeps being elevated
Yes.
and He's glorified
Well, and here's
in all these mess ups. And you read 19 chapters and it's just people of like sin after sin after
Absolutely.
sin after
Yes.
death after death.
but
after
here's
murder, after,
here's the thing to me that, and this is off topic of the question. I'll get to it in a minute, but
Yeah.
the beauty of, like you said, sin after sin and forgiveness after forgiveness is, while yes, in context, it's humanity. If I choose to see myself in the people, then it's an illustration of, while yes, I have fallen short, God is still willing to be there.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
now, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not perfectly the same. Like, it's not Lamech and Cain and all that, but it's still, there's a beauty to the symbolism, although it's legitimately, but you know what I'm saying, like if you look at it as a broad sense, that the who is important, but it's also the what God is willing to endure for man.
Yep. And I think that's well said, because ultimately he endured death, right? The punishment of
that
all
was
of
meant
us.
for, yeah, exactly.
He endured that, but there's an element of like the concept of it's called like total depravity, right? Like I'm not murdering people or
Mhm.
having multiple wives or doing things that are mentioned by these people,
Yes,
but I'm still angry and judgmental, and I still
fall short.
I have thoughts and words and actions that fall short of God's command and God's
Yes.
glory. So I mean, he could have restarted when right? He could have restarted in 1989.
Yes,
and everything.
yes.
But what God is willing to endure for me, and maybe this actually touches on that last question of just like how's your faith grow,
Yes.
right? Like the more mature I get, the longer I live as a Christian, the more sin I see in myself, which then turns into the more I recognize the need for a savior.
Absolutely.
Right? And
Yes.
it's actually a good cycle, right? Like the more mature I get, I'm like, wow, that was actually super wrong. And I
Yes.
maybe wouldn't have realized that 5 and 10 years ago, but it's the more I see a daily need for a savior, where like every single day is like should be full of repentance and should be full of like thankfulness and just sitting at the in the mercy of God, where he allowed me to wake up today,
Yeah.
right? So like he could have ended it last night because of my sin nature, but he allowed me to wake up today.
I am
Giving me
not
another
nearly
chance,
as grateful for that as I ought to be. I'm telling you.
And it comes with time, because you just recognize it, right? You recognize like, man, I'm like super bad.
Well, I just mean the this is gonna sound selfish, but it's true. So, I just expect to wake up. I every day I've woken up, so I just assume I will be awake the next day.
Yeah.
And then and when I hear people speak of their gratitude, it's just one of those things that it's challenging for me, because, for instance, glasses. If I didn't have glasses, I couldn't see, but I've always had glasses, so I don't find myself being grateful for them,
Yeah.
because since I was like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, I don't know, young,
Yeah.
they've been a part of my life, and so the same goes with waking up. I I cannot say that I wake up grateful
Mhm.
for waking up, because I expect it.
Yep. Same.
And this actually is quite a ways down the road, but like it's one of those things where it's like Job, for instance, right?
Mhm.
Goes through all these things and is still grateful, and it's like, can I say that I'd be that same way? I'm not so certain.
Yeah. Thank God I'm not Job, right?
Exactly.
Thank God I'm not Abraham, or thank God I'm not Noah, because I don't know if I would be able to do it.
Right?
He specifically chose those men at that time, not
Yes.
me at this time.
Whew.
But no, I completely agree. Like, I mean, even the small blessing, the huge blessing, but we think it's small, of waking up. Like,
Yes.
there are times like I just breeze right over that fact
Of course.
that like I'm given life today, and I'm given an opportunity today, and I'm given mercy and grace when I deserve judgment and.
Well, I'm
wrath.
gonna say something in your defense, though. In your defense, I know you're being harsh on you right now, but I strongly feel that your presence daily, and it's not just me, I know that for a fact, impacts those around you,
Thanks, dude.
and so I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so yeah, thanks. Can we get to the fourth and final question of the week?
Yes.
In the morning, right? Yeah. Sorry.
After this lesson, what are some impossibilities that you will commit to prayer? Ooh, that one's
Yeah, it's a good one.
that was a good one.
I mean, I have a good friend of mine. I kind of referenced it earlier. When you think in a situation's impossible, I mean, this friend of mine is struggling in a few different areas of his life that even one you would think would be like too much. Yeah. I pray hard for him a lot. We talk a couple times a week. I honestly don't know how it's going to get resolved. It's one of those things where there's actually been so little progress for so long that it's just, I don't know how. So I think part of that question is trusting that, like, that my prayers for people are heard. My prayers for myself are heard, right? And no situation is hopeless, and no situation is totally gone. One, that's what faith is, right? Like, because I can't control any of this, I need to trust that the creator of the universe has this all figured out. Not saying that that's easy, right? That's a hard thing to always do.
Well, I know personally, I want to think I got this, and that's just a general blanket statement. Yeah. And then to be slapped in the face with the "I don't got this" is often challenging. But I will say that the small prayer group has been so helpful, not only because of people willing and openly and honestly praying, but it's one of those things where it has often brought to light the places I should be grateful, because I really do have a very positive life, but because it's common to me, it's almost expected. It's one of those things that I'm very I don't want to admit that I'm dismissive of, but I am, because I expect it. And then when I hear of people having, health issues or accidents or any number of things, it's like, oh, wait a second, I need to be grateful for the positive, the good, the place where.
The simplest of things.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think when we sit with this, just this concept of like resolution and like where does our faith need to improve,
Mm-hmm.
for sure a big part for me is like I have to remember that my prayers are going to the God that made all this possible, to the God that has salvation and victory and mercy and hope in all things, and to the God that lives in me as a believer in Jesus now. Right?
Yes.
A believer in Jesus right now has the Holy Spirit in them, which is the same power that raised Jesus from the dead, which is the same power that put all of creation into motion. And there are times, admittedly, where I just don't believe that, because I need an answer now. I need an answer the way I want it.
Right.
And I don't always get that.
Well, I'll
and
say
that's
this.
huge sinful behavior.
Oh yeah.
But it's always a good reminder of, oh wait,
Yes.
the God of all this possibility lives in me. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to be able to heal a lame man or make a deaf guy hear, but I do have God living in me, which means I have His boldness, His protection. I can pray directly to the God of the universe. I can do all these things that so many people feel inhibited by.
Mm.
And that's just a good reminder. Like, everything is possible with God. Because He did all things possible, including raising Himself from the dead and living eternally and all this stuff. And it's always a good reminder, because I fall into this trap of like, when is this going to be fixed, or how is this going to get done, or I don't see a way out, or I can't believe I'm still stuck in this same situation that I've been praying about for years and years, right?
Well, and that to me is a callback to the ages, right?
Yeah.
If Abraham and Sarah, now granted, in a lot of ways they made bad decisions, but again, that's illustrated of all of us. But if they can be bestowed upon lineage, offspring, legacy, because God promised it, but just not on your timetable. That's the crazy thing. Like, oh, well, there's no way that's going to happen, right? That's what Sarah says. Oh, here, have Hagar.
Yeah, I'm 9 years old, and how?
Yeah. But it's, again, they even this story that seems specific can be broadened out to fit whatever our problem is, because the problem is less relevant than the solution, which is God's got this. And I just appreciate you being here, because I'm telling you, I would not have had the same connection from thought to thought if you hadn't have been able to share your understanding as well. So
Happy to be here.
Yeah.
Very cool.
thank you.